This is a short video to help school staff have a better understanding of insulin pump therapy. Your local paediatric diabetes team will provide you with more detailed information about the insulin pump the pupil in your school is using. The team will teach you everything you need to know to support the pupil safely. If you're ever unsure of what to do, please phone the pupil's parents or carers or your diabetes team for advice. So what is an insulin pump and what can it do? Insulin pump therapy offers children and young people with type 1 diabetes an alternative to multiple daily injections of insulin. There are many different types of insulin pumps, but in principle they are a small battery-operated device that is filled with rapid-acting insulin. The pump is pre-programmed to deliver a continuous supply or infusion of rapid-acting insulin. This is known as the basal. The pump has a small cannula, which is a bit like a straw, that sits just underneath the skin. It is via the cannula that the insulin enters the body. Insulin pumps are generally worn 24 hours a day. School staff will be taught how to program additional doses of insulin, known as a bolus. Boluses of insulin are required at meal times and deal with the rise in blood glucose associated with the carbohydrates that are being eaten. A bolus of insulin can also be given to help correct a raised blood glucose level. Some pupils also wear a glucose sensor, a device which helps track the rise and fall of glucose levels throughout the day and night. Glucose sensors are like a small indwelling filament that measure the glucose levels of the fluid under the skin. Because they don't sit in the bloodstream, the glucose readings from the sensor won't always be an exact match for a finger prick blood glucose reading. Your local diabetes team will give you more training on how to interpret the readings from a glucose sensor. Some glucose sensors link with an insulin pump and are sophisticated enough to adjust the pump's insulin rate. For example, if the sensor detects a rise in glucose levels, the pump will automatically raise its insulin rate. And similarly, if the sensor detects a fall in glucose levels, the pump will lower its insulin rate. By allowing the insulin infusion rate to rise and fall in line with glucose levels, the person with diabetes should be able to achieve more glucose readings close to the healthy target range. This is good for their health as well as their concentration levels. Some pupils use a system known as DIY looping or a closed loop system. This describes app-based technology that links insulin pumps and glucose sensors. Whilst these systems are currently unapproved by regulatory bodies, paediatric diabetes teams are fully supportive of families who choose to access this technology. If a pupil in your school is looping, the local diabetes team will provide support about good diabetes care in school, and the family will provide training on their child's equipment. So what are the key messages for school staff about insulin pump therapy? If the pump alarms, please investigate why. It could mean there is a problem with the infusion and the pupil isn't getting their insulin. If the pump becomes disconnected and the pupil is no longer receiving their insulin infusion, this needs to be dealt with swiftly. As a general rule, you should not be disconnected from your pump for more than an hour. Please inform parents or carers of any disconnection issues as soon as they arise. Do not program the pump to do anything you have not been trained to do. Some of the equipment associated with pump therapy can look like a mobile phone. Older pupils, for example in secondary schools, must never be prevented from using their diabetes devices. Please ensure all school staff are made aware of the equipment pupils with diabetes are using, so embarrassing or awkward situations can be avoided. Whichever insulin pump and glucose sensor system the pupil or pupils in your school are using, your local diabetes team will provide the training staff require. Parents or carers will also help school staff learn what they need to develop the confidence and skills required to support the pupil in their care. Always refer to the pupil's individual healthcare plan for specific advice, and if you need any extra advice or information, please speak to the pupil's parents or carers or your local diabetes team.